Johnny Johnson.
I heard a comment about using some of the revenue from the hotel motel tax, and hadn't visited with those people just this last week. They're kind of concerned about the revenue they generate and turn in being spent for the competition downtown. So I don't think that's a good source to try to get money from. And I don't blame them. That's building a building that's competing with them. Sugar Land and Waco have a different situation. We have a nice mall here. To build something downtown is going to take away from the mall we might already have occupied. We need to look at what we're going to take away from other parts of the city. The motels out on the strip or I-40, whatever, and look at how we might be detrimental to them if we do try to invest up. The Civic Center will bring in money to the rest of the hotels and motels in the area, I believe. And the 200 or 300 jobs that's going to be moved from Coca-Cola and Emerald Hardware, what about the tax revenue, the tax base in those buildings while all of this is under construction? Sugar Land, I think you said, didn't have a downtown. I understand building Waco's was destroyed and went vacant property. We have some vacant property, but not to the extent you're comparing us to. And the design standards of downtown would be fine for commercial businesses. Those of us who bought it from the second didn't buy it to see bought it to live in. And now we're faced with bed and breakfast, offices, lawyers' offices, consultants' offices. I understand they're commercial buildings in our residential areas. So, that's what those.
Thank you for allowing me to clarify something. The city, when they had the change in 2009 for the use of the citywide hot tax, it's not allowed to be used. You cannot use the citywide hot tax from I-40 to build a hotel downtown. You can use the hotel occupancy tax that's created from that property for itself. That is allowed, as long as the city owns the land in which that location is where the hotel is located. The other thing that I mentioned was not about the hotel, was about the multi-purpose event venue. That is similar to what was done at Round Rock. And many of the things that we're discussing, when you look at the ability to book the Civic Center, there used to be 3,000 room nights that came to the Jehovah's Witness convention. Those are gone. The ability to attract, when you're competing with other locations that have downtown hotels and have other things to do. They go to the hotel, they don't just go to the hotel, they go to the Civic Center, and that's all they do. They're looking for other things they can do in and around that area. And it's not about taking from another part of the community. It's about filling in a part of the community that if you don't do something, you still have to pay the taxes to maintain it. You still have to do things where it's going to be degraded. A long-term approach to making sure that you have a community that is holistic in its view and make sure that it takes care of itself. And that's the view. I appreciate the points that you brought up, and they're certainly good questions, but I wanted to clarify to make sure you knew that we're not talking about using other hotel taxes to build a competition for itself.
Just a quick comment on your last comment. We went through the design standards process last summer. We really debated on the boundary, and it was changed a couple of times to address some concerns. It was reduced on the north-west corner, as well as the entire edge of the boundary. What we heard from both residents, business owners, and commercial property owners, by and large, was support for the standards. Because the issue was brought up after the standards was adopted by a few residents, the City Commission held a public meeting in November of last year for the residents specifically to voice their opinion. And 7 out of 10 said they wanted the standards, and I recognize that you're never going to have 100%, but 70% indicated to the City Commission that they wanted the standards. And I think if you drive through the neighborhood now, you'll see the support for the standards with the plethora of signs that are up. So that's why the residential area was included.
Well, I attended those meetings, one of the people you contacted, and I don't really agree with the 70 or 80% or whatever. Most of the people who live in that area are opposed to the design standard, didn't buy those houses in the street. But on the commercial properties, that's fine. If you have filled residential areas with spot zoning in there, that different and change the whole area.
Thank you, sir. Amy Mitchell?
I have a couple of things. I remember attending meetings earlier when we were discussing all this stuff about a year and a half ago, and a lot of it included having the pool. My concern is, the baseball has a hard time keeping its self-funding, and it's different ownership here, different ownership there. They're only open during prime season, during the warm times to have this. If we put the pool in, I don't know that everybody realizes how many people it can affect. You have your rehab, you have senior citizens aquatics. You have in Lubbock, every single third grader is bused from school to their aquatic facility and taught swim lessons as just part of their curriculum. People don't have to pay for that. And me as a mother of two, I'm tired of paying all these private organizations for my children alone. For that to be offered as part of the school system, and with AISD being on board, willing to help with that, I don't understand why it keeps getting put back that the aquatic facility isn't included in this, when it could be such a huge impact across the board, from children to adults to senior citizens to the hospital, having rehab over there. There's so many different benefits to it, but yet we still can put the baseball stadium in there, which is very limited and has been proven time and time again that it's having a hard time turning that money. And I understand what you're saying with the outdoor, concerts, this, that, and the other. I understand that would help it, but that would help them right now if they did it right now, and they don't do it now. So what's to say when you build this new one, all of a sudden everything's going to change, and then that's going to be held out there? That's, I don't understand. When you were asked earlier about who makes the decisions, you said we had these meetings, but I feel like when I went to the ones before, a lot of it included the aquatic facility, and now all of a sudden it's completely out of the picture, but yet this baseball stadium's in.
What's interesting about the comments is, as we talk about the aquatics, is that we're pitting one thing against another. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. We're not talking about, you haven't heard anything said this evening that we're against aquatics. What you've heard is, here's the information we have. The premise that we put forward on the stadium on all these projects is there needs to be a benefit that exceeds the cost of community participation. There were, a study that was put forward on the aquatics showed 4 different options. The best option had to be subsidized $300,000 a year, the best. I think that was about $18 million. The school district had indicated they would put $1 million in some time ago on a $7 million project. This is a different scope. No one here on this side has said not do it. What we've said is look at the information, look at the discrepancies. You have a strong voice and a passion for it, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad the other folks are here. It's something that we need to work through. It's something that's why we're having these meetings, to get public input. I would ask that you not condemn us for asking for public input, getting it and saying, why don't you already know this? Please work with us in this process, because we want to work with you as well. If this is part of the public input that comes back, this is some of the things that we're going to bring back to the city of what we heard people say. Presently, I'm giving you a point of fact. It's not part of our contract. I also told you it's something that we believe we should look at, and here are some of the things that need to be considered that weren't previously. What are the different funding sources? And that's something that another gentleman asked me. What are the funding sources? You've already heard me mention that we've identified some that the aquatics folks didn't even bring to our attention. So we are seriously considering it. I would ask for your patience and your support and to continue your enthusiasm and your passion for the issue as we move forward. And recognize we're not telling you no. What we're describing is where we're at and how we're going to move forward. Because I think that there are benefits that come to it, but I don't have all the answers right now. Where it's going to go, how it works in, the land plan shows a potential site for it in downtown. If you go back and look at it, it actually shows it. So, I appreciate your comments. We are working through some processes. It's not as formal, it's not as far along as the others. I'm sorry for that. But the reality of it is that I agree that your point, if all it is baseball, it's not going to be successful. But if you look at the stadiums that we're referencing, they don't look anything like the stadium you got, and you're not going to make the stadium, sorry, Commissioner, you're not going to make the stadium that you have look like one of those. And it's not going to be $5 million, it's going to be 15, 20, 25 million. It's just the way it is.
I just think that it reaches such a limited amount of people, if you're talking of the baseball stadium, as opposed to, you know, an aquatic facility that can reach so many different age groups and so many different people and be for the city. I mean, it kills me that it's not, that the city doesn't have one. You know, that that's not an option for us.
Let me give you a couple more pieces of information I've done disservice. We've gone so far as we've toured in Keller. We've looked at the way that the city built one there and the school district maintains it. We've toured in Frisco. So there are other things that we're doing to go out and look at different models out there as to how they're structured, how they're funded, who participates, who operates them. The assumptions that as you're going through, I would offer to you that you're making a certain set of assumptions on who goes to baseball games and how it's functioning with benefits. And I would ask you to recognize that there may be information that's greater than that, than presently that you have. And there are things when you look at more than just baseball, other events, other people do go to it for a wide variety of ages and benefits. So what I hope that you'll take away is there's a common theme of our goal is to create a variety of uses to where a variety of age groups and populations will want to go downtown and support the economy. That's a common theme, whether it's a baseball stadium or an aquatic center. And some of the work that we're doing also focuses on aquatic.